All right, we are live. What is up, YouTube? It's Krod here. I'm back with another good video for y'all today. Um, yeah, let's just go right into it, man. I'm not gonna probably be on here for too long, but I'm just gonna make my case and state my case um, about the Terrence Crawford fanboy idiocracy that a lot of people like would obviously tell me to say that uh, Terrence Crawford, he's proven himself enough to be the best fighter, blah, 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 after beating Sean Porter. And I disagree with that. I think Crawford has one more task. And I think Crawford is a damn good fighter. But at the same time, we cannot say that Crawford, he is pound for pound number one. I would say for the welterweight division, you need to go through Spence. That's like the final straw that I would say Crawford needs to go through, and I think that's what's going to solidify the welterweight division. Because until then, Crawford, he needs to just stop, thinking that, oh well, I'm gonna walk right through Errol Spence, blah 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 blah, and Errol Spence, he ain't gonna do shit to me, and he ain't nothing, and I'm better, and he's not on my level. But it's like, yeah, if Errol Spence isn't on your level, then Errol Spence should have been out the picture a long time ago, especially when you were in your prime, like at like 28, 29 years old, especially when you were dominating 140. And when you decided to make the move to 147, you should have went right after EJ first, in which, Crawford could have easily done that. He just didn't want to do it because he wanted to stand behind Bob Arum just to say, oh, well, Master Bob Arum couldn't do this for me and couldn't do that for me. So if you fight us a bum and I fight us a bum, then like, what does it even matter though? Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, cause I'm Karen Crawford. That but that's how I do business, man. So obviously, Bud, he on that bullshit. He obviously doesn't want to be vocal in making the best fights. And the issue that I have with Crawford is that Crawford, he's not being proactive enough to call for the big fights. Because if Crawford wanted these big fights, he could have easily done it. Oh, and by the way, if any of you BudSexuals want to come up here and debate, because I know some of y'all will, but here's the link. Come right through. I'm more than willing to give you guys this work because I'll be live for maybe like a good hour, and I'm just gonna speak my piece because I just need to clear, like, clear the water and clear the air of how I believe in Terrence Bud Crawford. But as far as Crawford's legacy goes, he already has enough victory, solidified at 140, 135, and a little bit at 147, but he obviously didn't get the full dangerous, threats at 147 and at 140 as well. But at 147, he has a couple more chips that he has to, conquer, especially for him to solidify his reign in the division. And I think he could do it, but at the same time, it's like, do I really think Crawford is this great of a fighter? No. And the reason why I say that is because of his previous performance against Sean Porter. Sean Porter made Crawford look absolutely terrible. He was outboxing him, he was doing everything correctly. And Crawford, he didn't really do shit. Honestly, like if anything, if I really want to be consistent enough, I'm gonna come out here and say Sean Porter had the best of Crawford at least maybe 7 rounds to 1. mainly for the I would say the 10th round when Crawford did hurt Porter. Well, actually, no. Yeah, 7 rounds to one. Yeah, I would say when Crawford got the stoppage, it was 8 rounds to two, at least 8 rounds to two for Porter. But at that same token, like I can understand like why Crawford, fanboys or like BudSexual idiots want to say that Crawford did this, and that to Porter, and he did everything correctly, to win. But that obviously wasn't true. It's just mainly the fact that Crawford, he just happened to just get, some punches landed that didn't really land, and then Porter, he kind of just capitalized on Crawford's mistakes. So, I mean, it didn't really show anything special. It pretty much just showed that Crawford, he can't handle, a inside pressure fighter like Porter, who obviously had a pretty good style for Crawford to be to have problems fighting against that type of style, and then it usually ended up being a very bad I guess bad struggle in trying to handle Porter's pressure. And Crawford, he couldn't come up with any proper adjustments to actually make that fight a lot easier than for what it had to be. So I think the main problem was that Crawford, he did not utilize like the proper methodology to be, intellectually sound in that fight. I think he was taking a lot of risk or unnecessary risk that gave Porter that confidence to go in there and start harming Crawford a lot easier in the fight. But at the same time, but I say Porter could have done better. Of course, Porter could have easily made the fight a lot better into his favor if he had just utilized his jab more to the body, and then he should have just hard counter Crawford when he was caught slipping, especially off of those trades, because Crawford, he was leaving his chin absolutely wide open. So I mean, it made more sense for Porter to capitalize off of his mistakes and make Crawford look stupid, um, heading up inside of the inside clinch. So what Porter should have done, he should have forced his weight onto Crawford, and then therefore made it a lot more difficult for Crawford to gain any composure in those later championship level rounds. And then he would have been a lot more tired. And then, the only thing that Porter really had to do was just, utilize Crawford a lot more to the inside. And then, just make it like a lot more easier for Porter to work Crawford to his disadvantages, and then if he's able to make Crawford break to the inside, he definitely could have knocked Crawford down. If not, definitely knocked him out. Also, not to mention Porter, he hurt Crawford multiple times in that fight, and a lot of people don't want to give Porter the credit for that. Just say like, oh well, Crawford, he was buzzed a little bit. No, like Porter was hurting Crawford, and Crawford didn't have any possible answer to Porter's pressure when Porter was, clipping him on the inside trade punches. So just to give you BudSexual idiots that information, you guys just didn't want to admit that Crawford was, whooping, or Porter was basically beating Crawford's ass. Um, I would probably say in the middle to somewhat later rounds, but either way, Crawford did do a decent job as far as trying to keep the distance as far as let the early rounds go, but Porter was, destroying him. in the inside, which made the fight a lot more easier for Porter to utilize his skills a lot easier onto Crawford. Hence why I believe that Porter, he was either winning 6 rounds to 3, or it could have just been 8 rounds to 2, just to basically say Crawford wasn't doing much to actually win that fight. And then on top of that, his cornermen told him that they believed Crawford was actually losing the fight against Sean Porter. So I can understand why Crawford wanted to go for that stoppage, because he didn't know if he was up or down on the card. So, of course, Crawford wanted to actually make like a statement to try to stop Porter. But, even if he wanted to try to stop Porter, Porter was not going to allow Crawford to stop him. So I guess that the problem with this fight was that Porter's father made this fight absolutely disgusting. As far as that the fight itself should have definitely been um, continued a lot further, and people had made this fight seem like as if Crawford, knocked out Porter out cold in the 10th round, but that obviously wasn't true. Crawford knocked him down twice, in which no fighter has ever done that to Porter. So yeah, congratulations, or you knocked down Porter twice, but you didn't hurt Porter in the process of doing so. It just so it just so happened to seem that Porter's father just didn't want Porter to take any more punishment. In which Porter, he was fine. He wasn't like, stumbling. His body language wasn't showing like, oh man, I don't think I can keep on going anymore, blah, blah, blah. No, like, there was definitely some, like, some fight left in Porter's, fighting spirit. So I think what happened was that Porter's dad knew Crawford was going to stop him. So he wanted to rob the fans away by saving his son's life, to say that Porter should just, live to fight another day, in which he should just be in good health instead of taking a massive beating from Crawford, which obviously that doesn't make any sense, because Crawford, he was hurt too. It just didn't show within the fight, because Crawford, he has a good poker face. So Crawford does a great job in making sure that he doesn't signify himself being hurt. But at that same token, you have to understand that this is a championship level fight. You cannot fucking tell me like at this level you should have your trainer throw in that towel, when you know that you are more than capable to keep on fighting. Because if we want to keep that same energy, when Deontay Wilder told Mark Breland, "Hey, don't throw in the fucking towel, or else I'm gonna fire you," blah blah blah. Then, like, why the fuck did Mark Breland not listen to Deontay Wilder's commands in the second fight with Tyson Fury? So, I just think that when it comes to Terrence Crawford, everybody wants to like every. Everybody wants to come to that like pathetic defense to say that Crawford, got a legitimate stoppage, when clearly that was not a legitimate stoppage. Because if it was a legitimate stoppage, then the referee would have waved off that fight. Hey, what's up, Boxing Emo? How's it going? Can I call in? Yeah, just click the link if you want to come in and talk. But when you do come in, just make sure that you turn on your camera, just to make sure that you're not a troll, and then just turn it off if you want to. But I don't have like any call-in number right now. But if you want to just come in and chat to say what you need to say, come in and say what you have to say, and then I'm more than welcome to have some boxing chat with anybody that wants to talk. But Click the StreamYard link and then I'll let you in. But yeah, basically, what I have to say about that, that's pretty much like what I had to say. But we got L-Dub popping up in here. Yeah, what's up, L-Dub?
What's good? Yo, I'm glad I can inspire your lives. Ain't no idiots, ain't no BudSexuals, ain't none of that. You the one hating on Bud.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
talk about it.
Yeah. I got you.
Why you don't like him? What he do to you?
Wait. Hold on. Terrence Crawford is a good fighter. I'm not gonna disagree with that. The problem that I had with this, like a fight, in particular, was that Porter's father stopped the fight to the point where we knew Porter he could have fought, but knowing that this was Porter's last fight, why didn't Porter go out on a shield like he said that he wanted to?
That's on Kenny Porter. Maybe he's saying something in Bud that you didn't see or you can't see because you blind by the biasness. So we all know if you're really a student of the sport of boxing, we know Bud is the one of the best finishers in boxing, bar none, up there
Yeah,
with a lot of the other great fighters. So why would you put your family member or anybody that you love or whatever? You never seen them down like that twice in a row in a round, and you want them to get up against a killer like Bud. Now you might not know he's a killer because you don't like him like that, but the real ones know how Bud rocking. So that's a great move by him. Now, if he said, now the other stuff I don't agree with what Kenny Porter said after the fight, but
yeah,
in that moment, that was perfect because we seen Bud finish these guys. When you said he didn't step up and he ain't fought nobody, he finished all those guys like 7, 8 guys in a row. Undefeated guys, some guys ain't never been stopped, some guys never been out boxed. But you couldn't see that. But now you don't understand why he's jumping in to stop the fight with a killer like Bud. We seen that ninth round in between the rounds when he was talking to somebody and they said he was down and how he turned that shit up. And you want him to continue to get that shit? Come on, bro. The blood has been on your hands. We don't need to see no more deaths in boxing. We already been through that as fans. I think that was a good stoppage. I don't like the way he did his son after the fight, but the stoppage was perfect.
And that's why that I was just curious about that situation because I really wanted to see what was going to happen in that fight. But now that I actually think about it a little bit more, um, I kind of just felt like what Kenny said after the fight. He shouldn't have said that Porter wasn't prepared for this fight because knowing that this was your last fight, you should have came in with everything to fight for, knowing that this is like a world championship fight. So I think what Crawford had done in this fight, he did really well. But as far as I guess Porter's father embarrassing him, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree with that part. My thing is, I thought Porter fought a good fight. Watching the fight live, I thought Porter was doing a good job in that fight. And if he wasn't prepared, he could have fooled me because he was doing a lot of good things with his angles, his athletic ability, and he was clipping Bud with some good shots. So I don't really buy into that all the way because if he wasn't prepared, he would have been up out of there maybe in 5 rounds. I thought he did well, but the way they did it after the fight, it kind of diminished everything that Porter brought to the table. It didn't diminish Bud. It did not diminish him because that's a sign of actually it's a better sign of respect by a guy jumping on the apron and stopping a fight with a guy that never been stopped. Never all these fights Sean Porter had, he never been stopped. He never been dropped twice in a round. So man, that's all I got, man. I just want to make sure, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
that you know where I'm coming from. But it's all good. Continue your show, bro. I'm out.
All right. Thank you very much. But yeah, to continue what I had to say, uh, yeah, I mean Terrence Crawford, he definitely showed out in this fight, but from like my initial perspective that I had thought in this fight, I thought Porter had some fight left in him when he did fight Crawford in the 10th. but I can understand from his father's point of view that he didn't want to see his son get brutally hurt, and I can understand that uh, uh, why you would want to throw in the towel in that situation, because it's a very dangerous sport and nobody doesn't walk out of the sport 100%. And there's definitely plenty of cases to show that especially in those type of fights, you can easily get yourself killed, especially if you're not taking care of your physical health to make sure that you live to fight um, another day. So I think as far as this fight goes, it was a good fight. But what I could say as far as what the reaction of what a lot of these Terrence Crawford, how should I say, the fanboys, I would say, they try to make it seem like Crawford annihilated Porter, but I didn't see it like that. I thought this was a really good 50-50 fight. The only problem was that what we saw out of this problem was that we wanted to see what was going to happen, throughout the full distance. And, like what L-Dub said, Porter's father thought that Porter just couldn't continue. And, that's why he wanted to throw in the towel as soon as possible to avoid any possible injuries or whatever type of risk that Porter could have dealt with from Crawford. But my only problem was that, if that was to be like the actual case, then why didn't the referee just wave it off if he saw Porter hurt too? It's like, I guess like from like my own personal reaction to that second knockdown, I thought Porter was going to do his thing as far as get up, regain your composure, and make sure that you're not causing yourself to be discomforted and actually destroyed in that fight. Because I can I can definitely understand like from that boxer's point of view, you don't want to get up fast when you got knocked down twice, because that's gonna screw you up psychologically and physically. So you want to take your time when you get up, but then on top of that, you want to make sure that your legs are actually like back in shape. So the problem was that I think what Porter had failed to realize against Crawford was that he thought Crawford was going to finish him, but he wasn't so sure of how to properly respond from that second knockdown. So I think that Porter's dad thought that it was time to throw in that towel to begin with. But at the same time, it's like we can't really tell how Porter's body language really showed in that fight, because Porter can only know how much he can take as far as the amount of punishment that he had dealt with in that fight. But let's check up in the comments. Notification Elda versus Kara. Salute to you, TS Boxing. I had Porter up by 1, and I picked Crawford by KO. Crawford stops Ennis 2. Bud is a cerebral fighter. Y'all need to watch boxing more. Once Bud figures out your style, he finishes you. I can agree with that, but at the same time, how long does it take for Crawford to get to that level before he finishes you? Because what we saw from him versus Porter, he wasn't really in that proper position to stop Porter a lot sooner. Because I would say that Crawford, he's a good finisher when he sees you hurt, but is he a good finisher when he actually figures you out to actually go in there and actually smoke you? That question is yet to be answered, because this whole argument of Crawford, gaining the ability to collect data and try to understand you before he actually takes you down, like I don't really see that to be very how should I say, useful to Crawford's ability, because what Crawford is doing is that he's going to give up rounds early, but late game he's going to turn it up and then he's going to stop you. That don't make any sense, because you want to put rounds in early and then be able to stop your opponent late game. because if you're not able to stop your opponent, you want to at least have the ability to outbox your opponent, and then it makes it easier for you to win. So that way, you're able to at least get a couple knockdowns and make yourself a lot more dangerous heading into those situations. But either way, I think Crawford, he did a good job. It's just that, with the stoppage, I kind of thought that was like a little bit too overblown. I thought Porter was okay, from the second knockdown, but I can understand why Porter's dad just didn't want, Porter to, go through that much more punishment, because, that's his son, and, like any father, you would want to care for your son's health. But I think as far as what this fight showed, Porter, he definitely had a lot of heart in this fight, but I wanted to see what he would have done from the second knockdown leading into the last two rounds. But as far as Crawford's performance, I would give it like a C plus. I wasn't really so interested of like what Crawford was doing in that fight. I actually thought Crawford, he let himself wide open to get hit too much, and Porter, he turned it into a dogfight as I predicted. But I think what he should have done, he should have pressured Crawford a lot earlier to the body. But either way, Porter definitely did his thing, but Crawford, he definitely edged it out. As many would think that he did. But like, would I say that this Crawford beats Errol Spence? Hell no. I think Errol Spence um, eviscerates Crawford, but at the end of the day, it's like, styles make fights. So if we're gonna be consistent on Crawford's you know fighting style, you have to accept the fact that Crawford is not the same Terrence Crawford prior to 140, because Crawford, he's a lot slower. He's not as quick on his feet. I mean, his feet are still good, but at the end of the day, with him being older, that's going to age out his athleticism. So he's not as like athletically agile compared to what he used to do when he was younger. So I think when it comes to him and Spence, I think Errol Spence has more to bring to the table compared to Crawford, because Crawford, he can give Spence some problems, but I think Spence, he's going to give Crawford more problems, because it shows from the Porter fight, Crawford, he wasn't able to handle Porter's pressure, especially when Porter was leaning him to the ropes and he was clipping him back and forth, and he was giving Crawford some really crazy angles. That was some really crazy shit, and Crawford, he didn't know what to do from that situation. But let me get up to the comments here. TS said, I thought the stoppage was bullshit. I think the only reason Kenny stopped it was he was mad because he thought Sean wasn't working hard enough in training. I can agree with that, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Gervonta Tank Davis was sparring him, and he was like lighting Sean Porter up in sparring, if I'm not mistaken. But if that was to be the case, yeah, then I can understand why Kenny wanted Porter to be out of there, because he didn't want Porter to get his ass whooped, and he probably thought Porter was going to probably fold a lot more late game heading into that fight. But I think, to me, I thought Porter was doing fantastic. He just needed to survive the 10th round, and then he would have done more. But hey, TS or whoever wants to come in here, click on the StreamYard link if you guys want to come in and actually say your us say what y'all want to say. But I just thought Porter, he did what he had to do, but I think it was just mainly due to the I want to say it probably had to have been the fatigue, because Porter, he was, doing well as far as the gas tank goes, but I think once he got knocked down that second time, I think the fatigue in his legs definitely made him a little bit wobbly. So maybe that's why Kenny wanted to throw it in, because he didn't want Porter to take any more damage. But Tia said Canelo does the same. Tank does the same, bro. They know what they're doing. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Boxing email. Crawford said, I figured him out in round one, but it took him 10. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, Crawford is not being honest with his own skill set because what I hate about these BudSexual fans is that they think Crawford is like this, like basically they look at Crawford as like the ultimate Megatron from Transformers. Like they think Crawford can't be beat, he can't be broken down, he can't be destroyed in any shape or form or size. And anytime when Crawford figures you out, it's like game over. Megatron rules everyone, and the rest of the you know protagonists and Transformers gets killed off, and then the Decepticons win. That's basically how they view Crawford. They think Crawford is like the ultimate god of all gods, and I don't think of him like that. I think Crawford is very vulnerable. I think he's good as far as like showing a good boxing fight, but as far as like his skill sets and his technicality, I don't think it's there. I think guys like EJ, breaks him and easily destroys him. Okay, when Crawford stops Spence, I don't want to hear car accident excuses. Okay, well, I mean, if you believe that, then click the link. I mean, I want to hear your point of view and anybody else's point of view if they want to come in here and say what they need to say. But if you're going to do a lot of typing, then I suggest you stop doing that and then just click the link because I want to hear what anybody has to say, you know, on this panel. But as far as what I'm saying is that Crawford, he isn't showing me anything special as far as like what you know, as far as what he is presenting right now. I can. I'm just about to turn to this homework. Yeah, yeah, sure. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah, Porter looked tired towards the end, which I thought was weird. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought Porter he had enough in the tank to win, but at the same time, you have to think about it. This is a 12 round fight. This ain't no walk in the park. This is a very difficult high tier fight. So I can understand from Porter's point of view, like he's not, like the same Sean Porter that we saw against Adrian Broner. Like we're seeing a Sean Porter that is able to do good things in a fight, but his like how should I say his discrepancies are shown as far as like what his stamina and endurance levels are when it comes to getting hurt in a fight. And I think Porter, he is a fantastic fighter, but at the end of the day, when you have that, athleticism, being worn down after going through so many wars and battles, especially in your prime, that's what drains your body out. And then you're not able to do the things that you once did when you were younger. But hence that's why that many people would say as you get older you want to try to stay as active as possible because that is what the main issue with a lot of these like high profile level fighters when they get into their peak up like peak and then their downfall of their careers because if you are not staying active enough, then you're going to leave yourself wide open for someone to expose you because you're not, sharpening your iron to the highest level of competition. So my opinion on Crawford's is what it is because Crawford isn't showing me anything spectacular. He's showing what he did against low level opposition at top rank, but at the end of what the day, it's like, do I really think Crawford beats Spence the way he did to Porter? Hell no. I think Harold Spence beats Crawford down really bad, and I think Crawford gets eviscerated. I don't think Crawford lasts 4 rounds with Spence. Otherwise, if he was that good to actually stop Spence, he should have shown to the world that he should have stopped Porter early, which that wasn't true. Porter, he was outboxing Crawford, and he was outgunning Crawford in the pocket, because the problem with Crawford is that he don't like pressure. Crawford has shown when he gets pressured by someone that can hurt you and actually give you problems on the inside, that just shows that Crawford is not this highly skilled, fighter that's able to be, invincible every time when he goes toe to toe with you. And I think Crawford underestimated Porter by a huge landslide. And I think Porter knew coming into this fight that Crawford wasn't going to be easy. But from Porter's point of view, it seemed like he was actually more dangerous facing Crawford versus Crawford facing Porter, because Crawford's never fought anybody like Porter. But at the same time, are we gonna just sit here and say that Crawford is this awesome fighter? No, he's not. Crawford showed a lot of deficiencies in this fight, and I think what Porter should have done is that he should have worked Crawford to the body earlier, because he was headhunting so much in this fight, and I don't understand why he would do that. I think if anything, it just showed like Crawford. He basically showed what he could do to Porter. But what Porter should have done is that he should have hurt Crawford a lot earlier on the inside, and then he should have forced Crawford to the ropes, and then boom, he definitely would have knocked Crawford out. And I think that's what Crawford was afraid of, because Crawford, he was very hesitant. Let's just keep it real. Like, he wasn't so active enough on the inside to try to go in there and try to knock out Porter, because he was being careful by trying to trade with Porter. And for some weird reason, every time when Porter tried to, work him on the inside, Crawford always just kept on holding, which was so weird, because he didn't do that with Kell Brook, he didn't do that with Amir Khan, he didn't do that with who else, Igis Kavalaskis or Green Beans, right? But for some weird reason, it had to been Sean Porter, which just basically showed that Crawford, he wasn't ready for that type of competition. He was definitely getting exposed as far as what the skill set showed of who he was facing, and he wasn't, how should I say, physically and mentally conditioned enough in that fight to actually deal with that type of skill set from Sean Porter. And don't get it twisted. Like, I mean, Crawford did a good job handling Porter as far as him, coming in with his shots, because he got his timing down. But I think as far as the pressure goes, he was getting outgunned by Porter. So I guess as far as how I see this fight with him and Spence, of how much time it would take for Crawford to break against Spence, I would give Crawford really just at least a good 3 rounds leading into the fourth of him getting knocked out, because if we're gonna be honest, like, Crawford, he doesn't really present any threats to Errol Spence other than like what people say as far as him switching to southpaw or orthodox to southpaw, right? Like to which I don't really see that to be a big risk, because I don't see Crawford to be that big of a risk to Errol Spence, because that whole bullshit of him switching from orthodox to southpaw, that doesn't mean anything like that. But that just shows, like, okay, like, you're able to switch different stances while you're fighting, but at the same time, are you consistent enough to do that all 12 rounds? Which like, we didn't see that from Crawford. Like, we saw Crawford switch from orthodox to southpaw a little bit, and then he switches right back to orthodox, if I'm not mistaken. So like, miss me like with that bullshit to try to tell me that Crawford he was doing such a great job handling Porter by switching up his stances, because he didn't do it that much. He was basically being too hesitant enough to actually do it, and then he made himself look a lot more stupid by trying to stand toe to toe with Porter in the fight, and then he got clipped way too much in the fight that made him open up a lot more to Porter's shots. And I think what Porter should have done is that if he worked that body a lot sooner, he would have dropped Crawford, if not stopped him. But I think that's what Crawford was, ultimately doing, because I think it was like the mental pressure from Porter. I'm not gonna lie though. I think what Porter had done in this fight is that he made Crawford, expose himself a lot. And I think, like what Porter can show to Spence as far as like the blueprint to destroying Crawford is Crawford is not that good of a he's not that good of a inside fighter, and Crawford, he is very very how should I say, he's very lazy on defense. He leaves himself wide open to get hit a lot when he knows his potential skill set is leaving himself vulnerable. And on top of that, Crawford's ring IQ is not as good as many people say it is, because if Crawford had good ring IQ, he definitely would have given Porter a lot more issues to the table. And I think that's what the mega problem here. Crawford had more options to defeat Porter a lot sooner, but I think what happened was that he didn't utilize the right tools to break Porter down a lot faster. But then on top of that, it was a good, nip and tuck fight. I thought the fight itself could have easily been a lot more competitive if it was just a straight up boxing match. But at the same time, I think that's what Porter was good at doing. He was good at outboxing Crawford, but he was also good at outgunning Crawford as far as pressure goes. So I give Porter a lot of credit for that. He definitely did what he had to do to win. But as far as like what I saw out of Crawford, Crawford looked like crap out there, man. It just didn't look like the same, good old Bud Crawford that everybody said that, he was gonna wash Porter in like 4 rounds or some shit like that. So I definitely disagree with that. I wasn't really, looking forward to that type of, how should I say, that type of performance anyway, because it wasn't really just anything special from Bud, because I knew Bud wasn't going to do that to Porter anyway. But I think Kenny should have given Porter at least a chance in the 10th round. But I think at that same moment, I understand like why Kenny probably wanted to throw in the towel to protect Sean, but at the same breath, this was Sean's last fight, and Sean, he had done enough in the sport to protect himself enough to be in good health and safety. And don't get it twisted. I mean, Bud, he's a relentless finisher. But at the same time, let's see what he could have done if he was going to stop Porter, because it's not fair for people to say like, oh well, Sean Porter's dad did what he had to do because he wanted to look out for his son. But at that same breath, like, why didn't Kenny Porter did that for Sean when he got dropped by EJ? Because when Errol Spence dropped him, Sean Porter was severely hurt and he still battled on, and then it went to a 12-round decision. So I just find that to be absolutely brain dead of like what people were saying, to say that EJ could have definitely stopped Porter, but knowing that Bud didn't have the ability or the chance to stop Porter, like what does that show about Bud's play style or his skill set? It just showed like Bud wasn't this, you know, Ultimate Fighter to actually, you know, give Sean Porter any threat. Just so happened that, you know, yeah, you know, he knocked down Porter twice. Okay, good for you, but were you really able to stop him? Because Bud's power didn't seem like it was really shading Porter out. Because Porter said that Bud Crawford didn't hit as hard compared to him getting hit by Errol Spence. So, you know, I don't want to hear all this nonsense to say that Crawford definitely would have stopped um, Porter, because like we weren't able to see it live. So I think honestly the stoppage was a bit bullshit, in my honest opinion, because Sean Porter, he's been hurt multiple times in his career, and I probably should have just asked L-Dub that question. If Kenny didn't stop Porter from being or stop Porter, like, you know, from being punished by Errol Spence when he got knocked down in what, like round 11 or round 10, then why do it now with Bud? You know, it just doesn't make any sense, because Errol Spence, he's twice as twice as more dangerous as a relentless finisher compared to Errol, or compared to Terrence Crawford. And Crawford's knockouts don't really end with like one punch power. It actually just ends in a combination of punches. Hence why I believe Crawford, he's a volume boxer puncher. But for EJ, I say EJ, he's actually a true boxer puncher, and he's not a volume puncher. He's actually a sharpshooter, where certain shots that he throws at you, it's thrown with bad conviction, and when those shots actually do hurt the most, he sharpshoots it. So that way, you don't get back up from it. And he's similar to that. I probably don't want to use Deontay Wilder for that manner, but I would say as next to, mm, as far as like great welterweights, mm, I don't know. I don't want to use any like legendary welterweights, because if I say Hagler, then everybody's gonna say, "Oh, well, Hagler, he was able to switch from orthodox to southpaw," and Terrence Crawford, you know, fights, you know, just like that. Hey, what's up, Tyro?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just looking at Connos. Saw you had a back and forth with L-Dub, man, and not just you, but other people were having back and forth with each other about this Crawford thing. It just kind of,
yeah, those guys are not that intellectually sound, and I knew like where that conversation was gonna go anyway, because they were just gonna like, you know, like create all these like nonsensical narratives, like, you know, to say that Terrence Crawford, you know, is a better fighter, blah blah blah, and, you know, like, you're being biased, and, you know, you're just hating on Bud because of reasons, type of bullshit.
yeah. I mean, L-Dub's my man. L-Dub's cool. I don't think he meant it like that, but I mean,
no, I don't.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle about this. I just kind of lost all steam after what happened last month. That just devastated me, and it really wants to put me off of boxing. But with this fight, I'm kind of neutral about. Like, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. But like, I just watch them step by step. Like this fight, I picked Crawford by KO, but I didn't really think what I saw wasn't really a. I didn't think that was a real KO. I think the only reason Kenny stopped it was because he didn't get what he wanted in training, and that was the first thing he said. And I know people like, I mean, that's something I would say. Like, people said he shouldn't have done that. He should have done that behind closed doors, maybe. But like, that was kind of a revenge. Like, he did that out of frustration to stop it, because he felt, oh well, you didn't give me your best in training. So,
Yeah.
and I think they talked about that, and I don't know.
Yeah, because I thought Porter, he was fine after the second knockdown, and you know,
People were making the stupidest fucking explanations for him, like punching the ground. Like, that's just being upset. Like, damn, I got caught. Like, instead of saying that, people were saying, I saw one, I forgot who it was, but he was like, he was so dazed, he didn't know where he was, so he started punching the ground. I said, come on, oh my God.
Bro, like people are so stuck in their feelings, and I guess like most of that comes from, you know, the Terrence Crawford BudSexuals, but it's like Porter was pissed off because he got caught clean off of a trade that he shouldn't have been.
Right.
So you can't be mad about that. You know, that's just boxing. So it's like anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why he was like, I get it. Like when I saw him punch the ground, everything, I got it. He's upset at himself. I didn't think he was hurt, and then all of a sudden I see it just stopped and Bud celebrating. I said, "What's going on?" And he said his dad stopped it. I said, "Oh my goodness." I mean, looking back now, when I saw the scorecards, what were they? 85, 86, 85, 86,
Yeah.
84, 87. I don't know about 84, 87, but I had 80, 86, 85 for Porter. I had him up by a round.
Yeah, I definitely had him up by like one round.
I had him up, and a lot of people had him up. It's like,
well, initially, I actually had it like 6 rounds to 3 by the 9th round, but after that 10th round, it definitely would have been like 6-4, and then like whatever would have, like honestly, that fight could have easily went to a draw if that went 12 rounds.
Yeah, you never know if Porter can come storming back and win the last 2 rounds. I think he was sort of robbed of that opportunity. It's getting to the point now where I'm kind of on the other end of it, the extreme end of it. I think refs should be one way or the other, and if they are, they have to say that from the beginning. Like, I thought it was a good ref was the Pulev Joshua one. I mean, Pulev was constantly getting dropped and hurt, but he was giving him every opportunity. You either do that or you stop the fight whenever, but you can't do both, sort of a thing. And in this scenario, I don't think he was hurt at all. And like with the media and everything like that, and you got Kenny, and people justify any sort of stoppage, even though they know in their heart like that the guy was fine. He could have continued. I think we're going to start seeing stoppages where guys are blinking from gusts of wind, and they'll make up a way why the wind could have affected his equilibrium. We're going to start seeing that. I think fights are, from the most part, fights are getting stopped too soon as of recently. That's what I think.
Yeah, I could even make that same comparison for female boxing. Like, there's like certain female fights that I see that shouldn't even be waived off anyway, and people would say, "Oh, well, that was a fair stoppage to begin with," and I'm like, "No, dude, like that wasn't even like a fair stoppage at all because the girl was able to still fight." And like people like want to like bring up like like that argument to say like women get hurt easier more compared to men, but yeah, that's true. But at the end, at the end of the day, if that fighter is still able to respond well to those punches, then it really doesn't matter because it's mainly due to the tolerance of how the reaction to those punches come out. So like you just can't just say like, oh well, she can't continue because she's a girl. That doesn't make any sense. If she's able to continue, then she's able to continue. But if she's like, I'll even like talk about I guess of the Terry Harper Alicia Baumgartner fight. Like some like I guess like Terry Harper fanboys like were trying to say like Terry Harper like was able to continue, after Alicia stunned her with that right hand, in which I said no because it clearly showed like Terry was about to get knocked out anyway, but people were trying to say that was a bullshit stoppage, but no, that wasn't. Like that was a legitimate stoppage because Alicia hurt her, and she timed it beautifully. So, if we can tell from that angle, then why can't we keep that same energy with Porter and Crawford? Because Porter, he didn't show any signs of like him being like knocked out.
I thought the first knockdown was more of a flash knockdown.
That was a flash knockdown.
Because there was nothing on that left hook. The second one, he hit him clean with that right hand. I give him that. But I don't think I don't think they're making him out to be like he was super dazed and he was going to be killed in there. Even if he had got up, that would have went 12 rounds. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I think Porter could have easily won that fight. And I think I want to say it was politically rigged, to say the least. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like my thought about it is definitely it was definitely a get back from Kenny. I really do think he just felt spited in training. It was like, listen, because that's what he said. He planned on doing this if we were to get in that scenario. And like, I mean, this he came in here with that in his mind, and
that's so disrespectful.
Like, my issue with him is not saying that he didn't train. My issue with him is reacting because he didn't train. What happened in training happened in training. Now this is the fight, so you have to believe as if he did all he can. You know what? He wasn't badly hurt, and you just wanted to stop it because of your own ego. I think he stopped it because of his ego, and that's. I mean, it hurts Crawford at the end of the day because, you know, now people are saying, you know, like I'm saying, I mean, Crawford, I think Crawford could have won on the scorecards, who knows, but we just don't know now. And I definitely I picked Crawford to knock him out too, but he was having more trouble than I thought. I thought he would have adjusted much earlier and got the stoppage around like 8 or something, but it wasn't the case at all. I thought he was being outworked. I mean, he was talking about he was doing whatever he wanted in there. That's not true at all.
No.
That's not true at all.
Crawford looked like absolutely hesitant in that whole fight. It just didn't. Honestly, I personally kind of felt like Crawford was actually afraid to exchange with Porter.
I got that feeling sometimes, and Andre Ward, his buddy, him and Tim Bradley, those guys are in love with him, and even they were talking about, you can go back to it around 5th or 6th round, the guy who wants it more, and Crawford's body language doesn't look like, you know, once you start saying body language, then you're like, really? You know what I mean? They really start hampering on this guy, and it's like.
And I'll probably also point out, I think due to the level of competition Crawford has faced, he felt too comfortable fighting Porter. So, you know, he didn't take Porter, you know, too seriously in the fight. So therefore he gave Porter so many opportunities to hurt him. And then Crawford, I think he got starstruck. I think that pressure from Porter really got to him. Like, Porter.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Garcia said it a while back. I thought Danny Garcia beat Porter, but like, even, you know, looking back at it, he did an interview. He said they talked about Porter Crawford, and they were talking about just different matchups. And he said, "Listen, Porter gives anybody a tough night, and it showed, and it really showed." And I thought, and you said, you thought you gave him about a C+. I think C+, B-, or something like that. I didn't think that was an amazing performance.
I didn't think that was the best version of Crawford. And I thought what Crawford could have done better, he wasn't, you know, active enough on his punches to actually show to the audience why he's Terrence Crawford. And I think that was just absolutely terrible, because that just showed like what Crawford, you know, is not so capable of. You know, people say he could switch from orthodox to southpaw. Okay, so like, where the hell was that? Did he really switch from orthodox to, like, you know, to southpaw consistently? I didn't see that.
No, not all the time. No. He wasn't switching like he usually does.
Did Crawford use that awesome defense that many people said that, he always does? I didn't see that.
No, me neither.
He got touched up so bad. I was just like laughing. I was like, dude, like what's going on, man? I could have easily, turned off that fight to say, dude, I think Porter's gonna wash him. And people thought Crawford was going to like wash Porter, and I'm like, yo, you guys are absolutely retarded, man. Porter was just literally catching him clean.
Yeah, my prediction was that he was going to give him a tough time early. Porter was going to give him a tough time early, and then Crawford would do his famous adjustments, right, and get the stoppage.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that. I mean, I saw him make a couple of changes, but I felt it was more Porter slowing down a bit and him taking advantage of that. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at it, but
yeah. But I guess like my question to you would be like what would be next for Crawford? Like how would you think this timeline's gonna go for him?
I would like him, if I were to choose. He's not going to get the Spence fight right away because he has to come back. I think Spence fight Ugas somehow, and I think Crawford would fight like Keith Thurman or Danny Garcia or somebody.
Yeah,
and then the winners later this year.
Yeah, I think Danny Garcia is like a better fight, but I keep hearing Danny's going up to 154, but I don't see why Danny would not want to take a Crawford fight, knowing that he's a free agent. So
right,
I think it just makes all the sense in the world to do that, because if you defeat Danny Garcia in a convincing manner, then at least you show yourself to be a top welterweight by beating a guy that got dominated by Spence. But at the same time, if you could do the same thing but do it in a better performance, then go for it. But
yeah, I think the fights for him are on PBC, and if he wants to do it his way, like fight by fight, that's cool, but as long as he's not with Bob Arum anymore,
yeah,
that's a great thing, to be honest. I just don't like Bob Arum at all. I hate having to watch any fight on ESPN. Just my own personal bias. I think the commentary is awful. I don't think they give anybody who's away a fair shake. I think they're arrogant. It's just a whole mess of things. I've gotten bad vibes from ESPN from even before the Wilder Fury stuff. Like, I was really hesitant to see Wilder Fury 2 on ESPN. I just didn't like how PBC gave them all the control, and it was a hard watch. And they spin this narrative. Listen, Terrence Crawford is their best fighter on there. He just left. I don't want to hear anybody talk about Tyson Fury or Josh Taylor. No, Terrence Crawford is the most talented fighter on that roster, period.
Yeah, and I was going to comment on the commentators that be talking on there, like certain commentators that I don't like Christina Pancher and like one Hispanic reporter. I forgot who his name. I think his name is Mark Ortega. Yeah, but those guys are fucking absolute idiots. Like
I remember during the Wilder Fury 3 one, she was like, I watched some of it back through gritted teeth. I really didn't want to watch it back, but I saw her on another cast of it, telecast, and she was like saying that, she said, and it's all over. And then she said, my apologies, the third round and wrong. And then all of a sudden, and then he drops their guy, and they're quiet as kept, except for Ray Flores, who's with us. It's just, what's wrong with these guys? I mean, Ray Flores kept it down the line the entire time, but ESPN always have to give it to us with a slant. That's why nobody likes them.
Yeah, because they're not actual boxing, pundits.
No, they just toe the line for the company.
Yeah, they're just political, like how should I say, puppets, if you will. Because even like when I hear like actual fighters, commentate like Michaela Mayer or who like Shakur Stevenson at times, like I don't like listening to them talk because they don't really have like a good actual insight on like what they believe in, and they're just basically talking out of like their own like political bias.
Yeah.
But it's like when you hear PBC talk, but the people that actually do make sense would be, I'd say, who maybe Brian Custer at times.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I like Brian Custer. You know who I like? It was a good commentator. I've spoken to a couple of people behind the scenes about this, but they were surprised when I said it. Dominic Brazil, of all people.
Yeah, he's a really good commentator. I'm not gonna lie.
He's really good, and as long as it's not
talking.
somebody he's biased against.
Yeah, I love hearing him talk. He's awesome. I also like listening to. I mean, Keith Thurman's a good sports commentator, but
yeah,
the other one is Joe Goosen. He's good.
Yeah, sometimes it's weird between him and Lennox. They kind of get into it.
Yeah. Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, sometimes. I remember specifically, what was it? The Hellenius fight, the first one, versus Kalnacki. And Lennox Lewis was like, oh, he slipped. And then Joe Goosen was like, oh, I don't know. Like he knew he got hit with like a right hand. And then he was like, oh, he's got him again. He said, I was right. No, they're pretty good because the thing is, I can pick out examples of them, being really critical about the home fighter, like really critical, and even saying that their guy lost. But ESPN, I can only pick out so many. Like,
yeah, that's so funny.
So bad.
Yeah, because I guess the reason why I like listening to PBC commentary is just mainly because of how they break down fights very well.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get it twisted, like some of them be like talking like real dumb, like Brian Kenny or like whoever.
But those are freelancers like Brian Kenny, and the bad ones, I mean, Ray Mancino was a good fighter, but they got rid of him. They got rid of him quickly.
I was surprised.
He had really bad commentary for the Washington Hellenius fight.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad because he was talking about Hellenius like he's the nobody and that Washington would just run right over him. Hellenius was up in that fight before he went down. He gassed out.
I know, right?
But funny. The way they were talking about it was like, oh, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but they were just like, man, Hellenius, this guy, Washington can really get this guy out of here if he just puts it together. And I'm just
he puts a little bit more. That is funny, man. Oh my god, I didn't even catch that.
And I haven't seen him since. That fight. Honest to God.
Yeah, because I don't know, because like some of these commentators, like especially with like, oh man, I forgot this one commentator that be asking like the dumbest questions ever, but I think it was like
the woman, not Kate Abdu, somebody else, right?
Yeah, it's somebody else. I don't fully remember the name, but
is it a guy?
Yeah. It's a dude.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, he be asking like the dumbest questions ever.
On Showtime or on Fox?
Showtime.
Jim Gray?
Yeah, Jim Gray.
He's funny, dude. He said something pretty. I agree. It was pretty funny, but he said, "Remember Wilder Stavern 2?" And Wilder got him out of there, and then Wilder was like, "First, I would like to thank." Actually, not first. He said, "I would also like to thank Stavern." And then Jim says, "For what?" He said, "For what?" But he says some like quirky stuff. Dude. Him and Adrian Broner never got along.
Jim
That's
Gray.
always pretty funny.
Jim Gray is that white guy with like the somewhat ish hair, right? Yeah, because like I kind of feel like he has like a bias every time he asks questions to people.
Yeah, he always has like he does it underhanded. It's not blatant. It's almost as if you don't notice it. Like, after really key into what he says. He was saying some slick stuff to Adonis Stevenson after he knocked out Fonfara the second time. Actually, he knocked him out the first time, but it was a rematch. But he was saying some stuff about why didn't you fight? Stevenson was being like, "I am the king, baby. I am the king." He said, "But doesn't the king need to unify? I mean, are you gonna like stuff like that?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's
which is a whole nother discussion about him and Kovalev and how Kovalev's team pulled out and all this stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of Kovalev, like, what the hell happened with him?
I don't know. He was supposed to fight that guy Rosado knocked out.
Yeah, Bektemir.
Mm-hmm.
Bektemir Melikuziev.
Yeah, or Beck. Yeah, the bully they call him, and he popped for PEDs, and I haven't heard since.
Yeah.
Stevenson at one point was one of my favorite fighters, dude.
Who, Stevenson?
Yeah, that's why it really annoys me about Sugar Hill, because I mean, I don't like, from what I heard, Stevenson did a lot of training by himself, and he had Haitian trainers at S&C. Yeah, after Emmanuel died, and then you saw what happened to Stevenson. His last fight, and he'll never fight again because of that. Yeah. And Sugar Hill like deletes all his pictures of him from his Instagram, and it's just like, like, that was your guy. Like, forget about Fury. No, Stevenson was with your family for a really long time, and you just kind of throw him under the bus. It's not. I didn't like what I saw.
Adonis was such a damn good fighter too. Like, I liked everything out of him. Like, ever since he, went in with the Kronk gym, and until he got brutally injured by the.
Yeah, Govzdik, who retired himself, by the way, after he was
brutally knocked the fuck out by Artur Beterbiev.
Yeah, Beterbiev. I betted somebody that Beterbiev would knock him out. He was like, no, everybody was, because ESPN was putting up Govzdik, right? Because that was their guy. I said, no, this guy's really going to knock him out. And he did. But I do give Govzdik credit. He did a lot better than I thought he would. And he hurt Beterbiev a couple of times in there, but Beterbiev got it done.
I thought Govzdik was fighting dirty against Adonis Stevenson.
Yeah, I thought he was in the middle rounds a little bit. I thought he definitely was.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, they both had knockdowns that weren't called.
Right?
Yeah, he kind of went down in the third. I think it was like a jab, like a flashy knockdown. Stevenson, and then in the 10th, he caught him with the left hand. He caught Govzdik with the left hand, and the ropes held him up, and that wasn't called. And it's like, damn, dude, are they not calling knockdowns anymore? What is this?
Yeah, man, boxing is like pretty much like the bad version of like basically, if you were to take any sport in the world and turn it upside down, that's what boxing is. It's like literally let the red market, Wild West.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's like somebody has a blood tag on somebody's hit list, and somebody wants to screw over somebody's career, whether that's a promoter or management or just another fighter that wants to come in with bad intentions.
Right.
But as far as like what I wanted to ask, as far as I guess at the state of boxing, like, what's your thoughts on the upcoming fights? Teofimo, Devin Haney, Tank.
I think I'm not too interested in Kambosos fight. I think it's dragged on way too long.
Yeah.
I think the Diaz Haney fight is solid. I do pick Haney to win that fight, though. I think he'll probably just outbox him, sort of like how Gary Russell did. But I think Gary Russell is more talented than Devin Haney, in my opinion.
Wow.
I know a lot of people are big on Devin Haney. I'm not. I think he has skills, but there's one thing, and I swear, mark my words, this dude cannot fight on the inside. I'm telling you, I saw him versus that South African guy on Showbox about 4 years ago.
Who, Nogo Denny?
Yep. And he was having a really hard time fighting on the inside. He would tear him up on the outside, but he could not fight on the inside. And I think that could cause some problems down the line.
Yeah, I think Devin's biggest issue is making sure when he's in the inside, he's selecting the right shots to counter you on the inside. And I think he leaves himself wide open with that chin because
that left hand that he leaves low.
Yeah, I really wish Devin, he was more of a more of an inside, semi-outside type of fighter, because he'll definitely be a lot more dangerous knowing how to counter off of inside punches, because outside he could do amazing. He could
right.
He can quote unquote run away from you all 12 rounds, but that's just pure boxing 101. But when it comes to a dogfight, that's my biggest concern, because I want Devin to be the king of that dogfight. But the problem is, what if that fighter like Gervonta Tank Davis hits you and you get stumbled? That's going to give me a little bit of worries about you, because I've yet to see Devin really extremely hurt, except for the Linares fight, in the 10th round. But what does Devin do against Gervonta? What does Devin do against Jojo Diaz? Because Diaz, he can punch, but he's not the biggest puncher ever. And one more thing to point on, this is Devin's first southpaw fighter. So,
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is actually going to be a bit of a test for him, in my honest opinion, because the problem that I have with this type of setup is that when you face a southpaw for the first time, especially when you're 20 plus fights in your career, you should have been fought southpaws a lot earlier. I think that's going to show a lot of holes in Devin's game if he leaves Jojo wide open to gain opportunities on him. And I think especially for Jojo not being the most technically dangerous southpaw, his skills are going to present some form of difficulty that I think Devin needs to watch out for. Because if he doesn't, capitalize against Jojo early, I think Jojo's going to find those holes very quickly out of Devin.
Yeah, I like this fight. I think it's a very good fight for him. I think it's a nice step up fight, and I like how Jojo Diaz right off. I didn't like the stuff with the weight and the Rakhimov fight, but the way he stepped in for Fortuna. Fortuna is a dangerous fighter, and he stepped in that fight in 3 weeks' notice and got the win. And now coming to fight Devin Haney. Now, granted, he wanted money, right? He wanted to fight Ryan Garcia. But they just offered him money he couldn't refuse, and now he's stepping up, and they made the fight, and I think it's a good fight for both of these guys.
Yeah, and I think Devin has a lot more to lose, and Jojo, he has more to gain. Yeah. Even if he still loses, his credibility is still going up, because what else does he really need to do other than just keep fighting for a paycheck? And Devin Haney on that, name, whether if he wins or loses, that still shows Jojo is, facing the tougher iron competition.
Yeah, definitely. And you're going to talk about the Tank fight.
I wanted to get your insight on that.
Yeah, I think Well, everybody else is calling this a cherry pick, blah blah blah, right? L Dub, I was in L Dub's chat for a while, and a couple months back, he kept telling everybody, like, he just looks at the WBA rankings. He was like, they're going to install this guy. They're going to put Isaac Cruz in, and they did, and they're saying he was the original opponent and everything. And I've seen Isaac Cruz fight, right? He was on the Castano Charlo undercard, I'm pretty sure. I saw him fight Magdaleno's brother, not Jesse, Diego, right? I saw him knock him out, and I saw him fight Varias. I think it's a good fight, to be honest. I think he's a come-forward fighter. He's strong. He punches hard. Only thing I don't like from him is the headbutts. I hate fucking headbutts.
Yeah, he's dirty as a motherfucker.
Yeah. I hate the headbutts, but he's a dog. That's why they call him Pitbull. So I think it's a solid fight.
I think what Gervonta needs to do, he needs to use that left uppercut on him.
Yep.
And then like what I like to do, especially like I want to say a lot of southpaws do this, but what he needs to do, he needs to pull hook counter, where I would basically hide that right hand, and what Tank needs to do, he needs to get Cruz to that right distance, and then he tries to pretend that he's going to hook him, but then he uses that right hand, and then he snaps it with a mean uppercut. So,
because we know what Cruz is going to do, right? He's going to try to bang and put him up against the ropes and work. You know, Tank will be covering up, and I think right then it's going to be open for Tank to hit him with something, his own hook, or more than likely an uppercut, like you were saying.
Yeah, because if Gervonta just times him all night long, he can knock him out real early. But then on top of that, I think what Gervonta needs to do, just basically like use your jab and force Cruz, to his back foot, and then don't let Cruz, come forward on you. Basically, come forward to him, but work his body, and then outbox him in the process. Because Gervonta, he's a more heavily skilled, dangerous boxer. So, if I'm Gervonta, I don't let this guy come, bullying me. I bully him by outboxing him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. I think also we'll get back to the main fight, but there are two fights on that undercard that I'm really, really looking forward to, and I think some more general fans might not know. I think the Derevyanchenko Adamas fight is a huge fight. I think it's a really, really, really good fight. I'm big on that. And the other one is the Eliminator, the Fundora Garcia one. Two really, really good fights that mean a lot at 154.
Oh, Fundora versus
Sergio Garcia.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a really good flame fight. But then again, I don't think so highly off of Spaniard fighters, but knowing that I'd never really liked Sebastian like that either, I think this is a good a good step up, because like personally for me, I wanted to see Fundora versus killers at the division like Lubin, Jason Rosario, which I think
he'll beat Rosario.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I saw my thing, dude. I knew Lubin was not Lubin. Rosario was a fraud when he knocked out J-Rock, dude. I said, listen, only reason he got away with it because J-Rock could not take a punch. I'm telling you, this guy is a fraud. And I picked Lubin to knock him out in 6. I think it's on something like that, and he did. But the crazy thing is, this is the problem with this division, dude, which I was talking to somebody about. Most of these guys cannot take a good shot. I don't know what it is. All of them have like suspect chins. Lubin, Harrison. Remember Hatley? Who else?
Brian
J-Rock.
Brian
Castano, I don't think can take a good punch. I thought Castano won the fight, but I think Charlo will knock him out in the rematch. And I don't like Charlo at all.
Brian Castano, he reminds me of a lesser version of who's that one Hispanic fighter? He was so good at punching, but this man, if you touch his chin, he gets knocked the hell out.
What weight class?
I believe he fought at welterweight.
Oh, Kermit Cintron?
Yeah.
Kermit Cintron. Yeah, I remember him.
I love all my Puerto Rican fighters, but yo, I'm gonna just keep it real. Like, he literally reminds me of Kermit Cintron. I don't know, man. Like, I think Castano, he's gonna get knocked the hell out, one day.
So,
And I think Charlo, when he figures that out in the rematch, which I highly believe, so that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna sleep him.
I think so. I think that guy's chin is very suspect. I think I just probably one of the biggest disappointments in that division recently was Hurd, to be honest, man. I mean, he had such an amazing fight with Lara, and it just he just nosedived right after that. He didn't take the J-Rock fight seriously, and he ended up losing. He fights Francisco Santana, in a tune-up, and doesn't look great at that. And then he just lost to Luis Arias, and it's just it's so sad to see somebody fall from that to that. And I know he just lost his dad recently, and Harrison lost his dad recently as well, and it just happened at the worst time for these guys.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
And I don't blame him because like, he doesn't need boxing anymore. He can easily just say, look, like, my head's not straight mentally, so I just want to be better after boxing. So, he could do great things after the sport. It's not like he has anything left to prove. You've done enough to become a unified champion, and I'm pretty sure he wants to, like, regain that, like, status to try to at least become unified or become undisputed. But it's like, like, when that your time is up, I would just hang it up instead of putting more punishment on your body.
Yeah, if he could get some right people around him and have a good solid team, I think he can make another run at 154. Everybody 154 has losses, of note, except Castano, but draws, pretty much. I mean, your undefeated record is kind of blemished there, but like, they're all vulnerable, and I think him and Harrison, if they got together, they can definitely make a push. I like Lubin, but dude, his chin is so suspect. He needs a helmet whenever he goes in, because I'm so worried about him getting touched. It's every single fight with this guy almost.
I thought Lubin was gonna get knocked out by Jason Rosario, and like,
a lot of people picked Rosario to beat him. A lot of people picked Rosario to beat him. I saw it like a battle of the chinless. It was going to be a battle. Yeah, it was a battle of attrition. Like, whoever could take the punch a bit better than the other guy, because they both couldn't take it really well.
Yeah, and like, what scared me out of that fight was, like, when either guy threw a uppercut on one another, their body language just looked really bad.
Genetic or neurological. I remember Stormy talking about things like this being neurological. I mean, Lubin hit him at the end of that third round, a little bit after, but it was in continuation. Like, he grazed him with a right hand, I think, or I think it was the right hand. Like, it grazed the top of his forehead, and he just, like, short circuited like a robot. And then he does this thing where he, like, fucking throws together his gloves. More. No, you don't want more. It's really just bad, and I don't know where that guy goes, but it's open. That's the thing about 154. 154 is a better version of cruiserweight in that it's open.
Oh, dude, and I really wish, like, 154 like had, like, more how should I say? They should have, like, like, tournaments and shit, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, if you had, like, like, contender eliminator tournaments, and then you had like champions, like, being forced as mandatories to, like, fight one another and shit, that would be, dude, I really wish boxing had that. If boxing was like set up like the NBA, where you had like a consistent tough fight schedule every time you fought, and you got more money, as you kept on climbing.
Yep.
You should be basically like tested at the highest decree, and
Yep.
basically it should be set up like a make or break type of career, where if you're made to be at the top, then you're made to be then you're made to be at the top, but if you're not, then you're not, and you
Yep.
got to go back to the drawing board.
And that's exactly what I tell casuals all the time. I'll be on PlayStation sometimes and loading it up and we're playing with my friends, and they might hear a couple of things from boxing, and when a guy that I like or they heard me talk about lose, they're like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's just a boxing fight." No, it is a big deal, because this isn't like the NBA. Like, this is not like the Lakers will play the Warriors, next week, or if they lost, they'll play tomorrow night sometimes even. Like, this is not that. Like, if you lose, and it means a lot. It really is one or two shots in this time period now, and people definitely have to give it their all. That's why we get behind guys a lot, and sometimes it helps, and sometimes it hurts, and I'm still hurting because this year has not been good, dude.
Yeah, this year boxing has been terrible, especially for like all the crazy ass robberies, all the deaths that we've seen in the sport.
And then the guys who are winning are on thin ice themselves. You just look at a guy who's like Fury. You just look at him as like, why does this guy not have a loss on his record already? I mean, I haven't seen in more recent times, in the past 4 or 5 years, a guy just on thin ice like that, like getting away with it for so long. It's all going to come crashing down.
Yeah, it's all going to come crashing down, because cheaters and criminals don't last forever in sports. But I'm just pissed off that the amount of corruption that I've really seen face value, especially on TV in boxing, that's just sad. Like,
it's bad.
I'm just surprised that there weren't as many deaths compared to like the amount of deaths, like many would say on average boxers go through.
Right.
Because but the usual death toll is like at least like 2 to 5 boxers die every year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is crazy. It's something crazy like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like so crazy how so much corruption has been exposed, and like you ought to think like the death toll would have been a lot higher, because it's like,
right.
Just imagine if we hadn't spoke about like the Michael Fox situation. Like, let's just
that was bad. And when I heard that they're up, they upheld the result, I was just like, yep, boxing is a mugs game. Boxing sucks. I just sometimes rethink what I'm doing. I'm like, I put a lot of time just combing through BoxRec, which is hard for me to look at anymore, and articles and news and feeds and people's channels and stuff. It's like second nature. It's like breathing to me. It's not like a chore. You know what I mean? It's just something we do. But like when you see some of the stuff that goes on in this sport, where just guys can't, who obviously want to fight, don't get it, or people are hit behind the head all the time. The referee doesn't stop. You've got long counts. You've got guys here just dirty fighters, and people are dirty fighters and being praised for it now. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
People will clinch and hold and just do all this thing, and people said, well, he's smart because he knows how to use his size. What? That's not awesome.
I'll even use like what happened this past weekend with Julio Cesar Martinez versus McWilliams Arroyo.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched that back on DAZN.
Yeah. I was so happy when McWilliams Arroyo
put him on his ass.
Bro, he put Julio on his ass, and Julio, he was shocked. He was like, "You dropped me?" And McWilliams, he should have just kept on outboxing the shit out of him. But
yeah, he got into it.
Little did he ever do. He decided to try to trade with a puncher, and Julio was fighting so dirty on the inside that McWilliams had suffered a cut due to a, intentional headbutt that he did to him because he knew his ass was getting beat up by him.
Yeah.
So what does Julio decide to do? He tries to continue being dirty until the referee called it off, and then it was ruled as a no contest. So Arroyo knew that Julio was gonna fight dirty the entire fight, but all he had to do was just simply outbox the shit out of him, and he would have knocked him out cold. Because Julio, he was getting lit up.
He was.
If you just watch that fight, literally, just round by round, it was just clearly shown that McWilliams, he just needed to just outbox him. And I was talking with other people about it, and they told me Julio, he can't box for shit, and he was absolutely frustrated, and he was getting pieced up.
Yeah, he definitely was, and I think some of it had to do with his competition. Jay Harris, before that, Charlie Edwards went out on fucking. I hated it. When I saw that fight live, dude, I was so pissed. He I mean, only in the UK can something like that happen.
Yeah.
And some of the other guys he fought. McWilliams is definitely a seasoned guy, and he came in there, and if he had stuck to the game plan, he probably would have. He could have gotten the stoppage, like you were saying.
Yeah, he was hurting Julio so much, and I was literally screaming at the TV, bro, use your fucking jab, use your damn jab. And then the minute Julio started hitting with them dirty ass shots, that's when I was like, okay, this is gonna end in one way. Either he's gonna get stopped or Julio's gonna get stopped.
Right. And what do you think about not to cut you off, you can keep going, I'm sorry.
No. You can ask the question.
Just look at a couple of these fights coming up. Beterbiev and Brown. I think that's probably going to be one of the most. It's probably that's a really important fight.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think Brown might win.
I was just telling somebody that the other day. I really believe that Beterbiev is kind of
too old
on the slide. Yeah, his age. I really do think so. And his last performance wasn't good at all. That guy that he fought, Adam Deans.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah, Adam Deanis or whatever the fuck his name is. But
I think Brown can do it. I think he just has to be careful because he has an issue with his chin.
Yeah.
He's another one that can't really take a solid shot. But if he can stay on his feet, if he boxes like he boxed up Badu Jack, then I really think he can. I think he can win this fight, man. I gotta check the odds on that. Let me check.
Yeah. And that fight's on Top Rank, or?
I think it's on Top Rank. I call them Top Rank.
Yeah, Top Stank Boxing.
Top Stank. Oh, it's close, man. It's actually no. I see. Let me see this.
I'm sure Marcus Brown is a plus, 650 or 750.
Oh, they shouldn't do all that. They put Sean Porter at a plus 600 or something retarded like that. I was like, I think Porter should be the underdog, but my brother showed me the odds, and I said, what? 600?
Yeah, those
What's
are
on
some
here.
I mean, look, if Porter won, you would have won a shitload of money anyway. So
yeah,
it's not like Sean Porter had any, losing spirit in him. You know, he didn't come in to lose. He really came in to win. And that's what this whole point of the stream was, not to just shit on, you know, Terrence Crawford, but to shit on like the idiocracy of like what, like, you know, of what, you know, the BudSexuals want to say like, oh, Sean Porter, he was such an easy task, and Bud, he washed him. Like, no, he didn't. Like, Porter
That's
was.
what I was thinking before the fight. I thought that Bud would have trouble early, but he would get an easy knockout towards the end. That's not what happened at all. That's
No.
not what happened at all. And I'll be the first. I admit it. I'm not just going to be like one of those guys and be like, oh, yeah, well, he still stopped him. No, I literally look at the fight, and it doesn't matter if I was right or wrong. Talk about what I saw in the fight. I'm just being honest.
I mean, that's why that I have a asterisk on that fight, because it's like, I just know
Bullshit stoppage.
Yeah, I just know that stoppage wasn't a legitimate stoppage, because, you know, that the referee would have gone in there and said, okay, well, no, I'm not gonna let Porter fight, blah blah blah. And then on top of that, like, why didn't let the referee stop Porter, you know, like when he got dropped by Errol Spence? Because EJ, he hits way harder than Bud, and EJ, he hit Porter with that mean right, and Porter, you know, he, you know, looked extremely hurt. So, you know,
Yeah, he definitely looks done, you know, when I saw it, because he, like, they do the smile and all these things, but why'd you take a step back then? You know, like, the odds for the Beterbiev fight, they've got him at like a 3-1 on this site. I think Brown should be like a plus 210 or something like that. You know,
that wouldn't be too bad.
But not a 6-1 like Porter was. I mean, those were ESPN odds. There couldn't have been anybody else. And the thing is, people took those ESPN odds and used them. I mean, how can you put him at like a 6-1, 7-1 versus Terrence Crawford? I mean, what are they? What's going on here? They act like he's never struggled in a fight in his life, almost.
That's funny.
I mean, he was losing to Delorme before he knocked him out. I mean, he had trouble with everybody. You know, is going to have trouble eventually. So it's like, and I like Jaron Ennis. You know, I talked to him. I've not talked to him, but I saw him first on Showbox around 2016, and I was like, this guy is really good. But Stormy was probably the first one I heard say it. This was a couple years ago, about 2 years ago. He's worried about how he eats punches sometimes. Like his last couple of fights, I felt like he's been being hit really clean, almost because he doesn't care about what's coming back. I think he needs to tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to.
Because he's going to get hit by somebody who can hit, and it won't look good.
Yeah, and just because we may think Jaron's going to be like the next, you know, undisputed, you know, like welterweight champion, doesn't mean like somebody's going to come up, you know, at 147 and, you know, just absolutely smoke him. Because I think like guys like Tank can easily give him problems.
Gary Antoine Russell beat him.
Gary Antoine Russell,
he'll give him a lot of problems. I mean,
Subriel Matias can definitely give him problems. Like,
yeah, he's good too. I would like to see Russell and Matias.
Yeah, Matias.
That'd be a great fight at 140. I thought Prograis Broner would have been a great fight. I think it still is a good fight.
Prograis, dude, that would have been pay-per-view. Oh my god, I'm paying for that.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. Even Mikey lost. Mikey just lost, but I still think him and Prograis would be a good fight.
I would pay to see it. Fuck it, set it up.
You know, it's just like there's a problem is boxing has kind of been casualified, you know what I mean, in the market. People only talk about the best fighters, and then they prop up guys to be unbeatable when they're not. Like, we know the deal. We know Crawford is a great fighter, but he's not unbeatable, but the media portrays him as unbeatable, and they down the other guy. Same thing with Fury. I mean, that guy has been on the canvas more times than, you know, a stripper Magic City or something like that.
Yeah,
But you prop this guy up as he's totally unbeatable, and he's not.
he's not.
It's just so they've got these guys that they pick and choose. They did it with Lomachenko, and they have the casuals buy into that, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. But I was gonna probably end the stream with like one more topic.
Yeah, sure.
Like, what's your thoughts on Lomachenko versus Richard
Comey?
Comey? Yeah,
I think it's a good fight. It looks bad from the outside because like people are just saying he's beating To's leftovers, but it's kind of like okay, he did it to himself, right? They were arrogant. They didn't sign the rematch clause. But I honest to God had that an 8-4 type of fight. I didn't think Lopez did what everybody made out. Like I didn't think it was a whitewash. I think when Lomachenko finally came on, Lopez didn't have a lot of answers, and I would like to see a part 2 of that. But it doesn't look like Lopez wants to go in that direction, and it's Lomachenko is kicking himself every day about that.
yeah. And I kind of think Richard Comey still has a little bit of.
Yeah, you know, he can hit, and
yeah,
he has some stuff. I think it's a good fight.
Yeah, I think Lomachenko he's gonna basically be in a dogfight with him, and I think Comey if he hits Lomachenko,
he'll go. Yeah, Lomachenko is a much smaller guy.
Yeah, he's definitely fighting a much bigger opponent, and I think honestly this is definitely going to be like one of the bigger high tier victories for Lomachenko if he gets past him.
This weight, definitely, yeah.
100%.
I think it's a bigger win than Linares. I hate to say it.
Wow.
I have to think about it, but it could look like that because I'm looking at Linares after the loss.
Yeah.
I have to think about it. I'm not dead set on that, but it's definitely one of his big wins at this weight. Linares, him, Pedraza. Those are good wins at this weight.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because it's just like, Lomachenko, he's still being touted by like certain channels like around the LDBC to say like, he's still, like the most dangerous fighter out here. And I'm like, Lomachenko, he ain't shit, man. Like,
I still think he's a solid fighter. I still think he's a good fighter, but like, he's definitely been forgotten. Like, and
he's been hella
work his way up.
Yeah. I mean, like, this isn't like Lomachenko from like 2014.
Remember when him versus Rigondeaux, dude? They made, oh my god, when ESPN gets on their hype roll, dude, you just need to turn the TV off because it's unbearable. It's really, really bad. He's the best. I've never seen anything like it. Blah 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 blah, and it goes on and on and on and on.
Like, it's like they said Lomachenko was still like one of the greatest fighters after he took that loss to Salido, and then the minute he beats Gary Russell, ESPN just puts Lomachenko up on the pound for pound to say, oh, he's pound for pound #1 because he beat Gary Russell. But
that was a close fight, and Gary Russell dropped him.
Yeah,
he wasn't counted,
bro. Like, dude, Lomachenko, like, he knows like that he's not the best fighter out there. He
says himself that he can't go above 140, and even he wouldn't like to go to 140. 140 is dangerous for him. He knows he knows his limits himself. But if everybody else talking for him, just saying like he's this and he's that.
Yeah. And I think what's gonna happen is that Top Rank, they're gonna give him, a couple more fights, and then he's gonna get knocked off by either Shakur, or it's gonna be, I don't know, maybe Tiafimo if he's actually dumb enough to actually give him, a rematch. But I think even in that rematch, Lomachenko can definitely stop him.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think Lopez is all that. I think him and his daddy talk a lot. They have a lot to say. But
Yeah,
only like I think at 140, guys who can move up to 135 and beat Josh. I think Tank would knock out Josh Taylor. Just my opinion.
I agree.
For sure. Because I think him with this and Josh Taylor, not a lot of people say this, but I say this all the time. I think Josh Taylor is a dirty fighter.
I think.
And he's gonna get what's coming to him. I mean, I saw him do a post about Jake Paul and the Paul brothers from months ago, and then he's seen taking pictures with them. So how does it make him look? Did you see that? Yeah, I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah, dude. Like the minute I saw that, I was like, "Bro, dude."
This guy, dude,
I've lost so much fucking like respect for him. I'm like, dude, like you're supposed to be the professional fighter, being above him, and yet you dick ride for him.
and look at Bob Arum like trying to use him as a stick. Oh well, Crawford can come over to the UK. It does 70,000. We don't want money from peanut tickets. I'm so sick and tired of people touting this 70,000, 80,000. Jerry Coetzee in the 80s fought in South Africa in front of 80,000 people. I mean, he came over here and he got knocked out, like, and was basically dusted off with it, like, just to go there and make money from like cheap tickets is not. The only thing it does is help your pockets. Why does he want to go and fight Taylor when Taylor isn't even at 147 right now, when his focus should be Spence? It's like he knows he has nothing to offer Crawford, so now he's begging after all the stuff he talked about him.
Yeah, I think honestly, like Josh Taylor, he needs to pipe down. He needs to either fight Tank Davis or go at it with I don't know. Maybe you should probably get like a rematch in with Prograis, but
a lot of people say that. I think that's a good fight for him.
Yeah, because like after he eviscerates Jack Clatterall.
Yeah, that guy has been. Oh man, and I've seen him fight. Like he's a southpaw, isn't he? He's like one of those. Not a lot of action.
Yeah, he's not.
Throws more jabs than anything. Like, I mean, he's not going to engage with you.
Yeah, he's just a beginner level, a fighter. He's not no dangerous,
no,
maximum difficulty type of guy.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have any last thoughts for the audience or?
Nah, man, that's all, man. Thanks for holding on a little bit and giving me time to get on and chopping it up with you, man. It was pretty good, really good today.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be back on tomorrow if you want to, talk again.
All right, yeah, I have Thanksgiving break, so we're pretty much good to go. Yeah, man, I'll be on tomorrow. I'll be in the chat at the very least.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna, do a fight call maybe on the, Stefan Fulton and Brendan Figueroa fight.
That's a good fight.
So
is this Saturday? It's Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Saturday.
Who do you got in that fight?
Oh man, that's a true 50-50. But I think Stefan Fulton should defeat him.
Yeah, I think he might be too cute for him. I think I was impressed with Figueroa beating Neri.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that because Neri is. I mean, when I saw Neri beat Yamanaka twice, I said, "Okay, this guy." They banned him from Japan.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I think it's. Let me check that. I don't know if that's a fight ban or just a full straight out ban because I've known they've done that to people.
Yeah, if you just beat their Japanese fighters.
Yeah, he retired him too. Japanese Boxing Commission bans Luis Neri for life.
Wow, that's
from boxing in Japan. I don't know if he can go back there just as a visitor. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So he just basically stopped the Japanese guy.
Yeah, because that guy had like 13 title defenses, I want to say. Shinsuke Yamanaka.
Shinsuke Yamanaka.
Yeah.
13 title defense.
Yeah. When they give him when they announce him, and the thing is, he got stopped even faster the second time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all 13 of those title defenses were like tomato cans.
Yeah, probably his brother.
Bro, it's just like it's just sad like when people say like like resumes equal. Well, actually, like resumes do equal proper skill sets, but if you're a champion and like you've been defending like your title for so long, but then come to find out like some guy like Luis Neri knocks you off, and like when people look at like your resume and it just comes to show that you've been fighting low level opposition,
Right.
then like what do you have to offer other than you getting knocked out?
Exactly. It just looks bad in the long run.
Yeah. But anyways, it's been nice chatting with you, and I'll probably see you again sometime in the future.
Yeah, man, definitely. Hopefully tomorrow.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, bro.
I'll see you around.
Yep. Take care. Peace
Bye.
out. Peace.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for a amazing show, and until next time, we will be back again maybe tomorrow. Uh, Hopefully, maybe after work. But yeah, I just wanted to clear up this whole Bud. Obviously, BudSexual talk, but yeah, nothing special. Just another day in the office. So I just wanted to say what I wanted to say. It's getting pretty late here, so I'll see you guys later. More videos coming to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. This is Kieran Rodriguez, aka KRAD7435, signing out. Goodbye. Thank you.